Greg built 4 businesses that total $1 million a year in revenue. But 6 years ago, he was broke.
I didn't know when I was younger I was going to be a real estate investor. I didn't know a clue, dude. I was a knucklehead.
But last year, Greg entered Delaware.
Yeah.
What?
Your market.
My market. And within 1 year, he made triple my average revenue.
We've probably gotten you on a couple houses too, unfortunately.
He's cracked the code to dominating any market that he enters. How?
Doing one deal and then consistently doing deals and then building a real business are like 3 completely separate things that require different skill sets.
You see, as your business grows, you're going to face harder and more complex roadblocks every time you try to get to the next level.
It took me like literally 3 years to make $100,000. And most people think if they don't make $100,000 in their first 2 months, they're a loser.
He shares the 5 roadblocks that come between getting your first deal and making $1 million a year so that you can learn from his mistakes and make Greg level money in a fraction of the time that he does.
Someone starting out could legitimately make $200,000 within 2 years if you really gave it your all.
This will be the video that gets you to the next level, whether you're making $500K a year or dead broke, just like Greg was.
I was trying to make money flipping houses, and everybody else around me was not doing that. He's, oh, how's that real estate thing going? How's the business going? Are you still trying to flip houses? And I had no success. Anything worthwhile is not going to be easy. If wholesaling houses or flipping houses or doing the burr was easy, everybody would do it. The difficulty is where the opportunity is, right? If every seller who called you wanted to sell at a discount, everybody else could do it. That's just not how it works. Like, you got to look at the hard part of this business as the actual opportunity, because that's what weeds out the people who are serious and the people who are not serious. So I had to convince myself that if I did the work every day, over time I would be successful. So it was literally just pure pig-headed persistence and determination to win, right? And it was a slow battle to get there. It was not easy. It took years and years and years and years and years of just doing bandit signs because I had no budget, handwriting mail because I had no budget.
How did you get your first deal?
First thing I really did at scale was bandit signs because it was affordable, and that worked. Probably did 5 or 6 deals from bandit signs. I made $60,000 total just for bandit signs, from hanging out signs. I got my second deal from a direct mail campaign.
What list did you use?
Tax delinquent list.
Just tax
I
delinquent.
went to the county, bought the tax delinquent list in Orange County. You guys can still get it to this day if you're watching. Mailed the list. There was probably like 600 people. I got a call. The guy wanted to sell this vacant house, and we made a deal happen. I wholesaled it for way, way, way less than I probably should have because I didn't know what I didn't know, and I made $15,000. And I was 21 years old.
It was just you, no employee, nothing else yet. Getting your first deal is actually the easy part. It's getting deals month after month after month that become really challenging.
It's like I'd do a deal every 3 months or every 4 months and make a tiny bit of money. I was just always so frustrated and stressed out, man.
You can't control when the deals are going to fall in your lap. And it's stressful because you don't know how much money you're going to make every single month.
When is my next paycheck coming from a real estate deal? Is this really something you could do long term? How is this going to be like momentous? Like, how do I get this to be consistent? And I remember like exactly how it happened. It was changing my strategy. So what I ended up doing, what were the best deals I've done? And they were vacant properties where they inherited the house. If someone has $30,000 in back taxes, the house is vacant, the owner's been dead for 10 years. If you get in touch with those heirs and they say yes, you don't need to do much. I wasn't even that good at sales. This is where it all changed for me. And this is like the formula here on how I made my first $250,000 in real estate. I was like, I'm going to go all into Texas because New York is like the hardest market to do business in. There's attorneys, you have to put big deposits down. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get crushed. I pulled a list of tax delinquent properties in Texas. There's a system that I had, and that flagged all the tax delinquent properties vacant. And then I had another system that told me if the owners were alive or dead. So I basically built a list of dead people with back taxes that were vacant. I remember reading the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, 4 hours a day doing my one thing. And I was like, I'm going to spend 4 hours a day cold calling vacant, financially distressed, inherited properties. I'm going to spend 4 hours a day doing that. And within 2 or 3 months, I was doing 3 to 4 wholesale deals a month in Dallas. And then all of a sudden, overnight, I became successful. And focus on the activities that actually generate revenue, and it's lead generation and offer presentation and follow-up. You do those 3 things well, consistently, it would be hard to not make money in this business. It would be hard. I thought putting out bandit signs was productive, which it is, but it's really not, because you can pay someone to put the signs out. You're going to make the money on the calls, not putting the signs out. But the signs need to get put out for the call to get made, if that makes sense. So I really understood that was in like 2018, grew that thing to where like for 2 years or so, we were probably doing gross 250, maybe 220, 225. I don't want to be one of these like bullshit real estate liars. 225. And then ever since then, the income has like exponentially gotten higher. The funny thing is, this is all like, if I were to like look at what I was doing back then, like now I'd be like, oh my God, like you're playing small, bro. At the time, that was pretty good. And now because you get to the next level, you're like, oh man, like, but the point is, it took me like literally 3 years to make $100,000. And most people think if they don't make $100,000 in their first 2 months, they're a loser. What makes you think, if you know nothing about making money, that you would be entitled to make $100,000 in like 90 days? That is completely unreasonable. That's like you're a tennis player. If I were like, Tim, you've been playing tennis for 25 years, I'm gonna kick your ass in 2 months in tennis. I've never freaking played tennis. It just makes no sense.
Right.
Completely delusional.
Right. I appreciate you saying that. Important context.
Yeah.
You see me play tennis.
That's pretty good. No.
Though Greg was able to get consistent deals, every location only has so many people that you can market to.
I pretty much found everybody in Dallas who had a distressed property. They were either in my database or they wouldn't answer the phone.
He tapped out every single person on his list in his market.
And I had a good friend of mine who was in Houston, so I didn't really want to compete with him down there. And then I had another good friend in like San Antonio. So I didn't really, because like we were all kind of like in this mastermind. I didn't want to like kind of like go into their area just out of like integrity.
There was no other way he could find deals with the strategy he was doing.
So I had money now from all these deals, and I'm like, I bet you I could take this money, I can start going back into New York, and now I can buy houses. Like, I know how to flip properties. Like, once I realized I had money in the bank and I knew how to do this business, we made the biggest pops closing on properties.
And what's the term for that?
It's like a wholesale. Buy a wholesale property, you put it on the retail market, and then instead of assigning it to somebody, you just sell it to like another buyer.
So we're going back to New York now.
Yeah, 2.0.
So what did you do differently the second time around in New York?
I really made most of my wealth so far not wholesaling, which is counterintuitive, right? Doing one deal and then consistently doing deals and then building a real business are like three completely separate things that require different skill sets and different activities. I started to like get hard money loans and close on properties and do construction, and I figured out how to wholesale deals for big spreads. Like, I had all the things that you would need to be successful. And that's how we actually kicked off our New York company that's one of the bigger businesses in Hudson Valley today for real estate. In terms of like revenue, we're getting into like 2019-ish that year, probably 450 grand in revenue, but which isn't even that.
So you started doing deals where you live now in San Diego.
That's correct.
You still have your New York business today.
Yes. So I'd probably done 8 deals in San Diego in 5 years.
Okay, well, let's chat about it.
The first deal I did in San Diego was actually a piece of land I bought that I got on seller financing from a texting campaign from Launch Control. Or no, Lead Sherpa. It was a piece of land in Julian, California. So I bought the land, put it on the market, sold it, broke even. And that was my first ever venture in California real estate.
So what is like the gross revenue of that?
I mean, let's call it 100. It's not a real like infrastructured market, so it's hard to say. If I can do $150,000 to $250,000 of like income in San Diego, I'm cool with that. That's usually 2 or 3 deals.
And then you went to Delaware.
Yeah.
What?
Your market.
Random. My market.
We've probably gotten you on a couple houses too, unfortunately.
I posted a video about how much money I made in Delaware, and it wasn't very much. This guy took all my deals. It's probably not true. Why did you go from California to Delaware?
So my acquisitions guy was living in New York. He just moved to Delaware. It was just regular business as usual in New York because we've always done it virtual. I was like, yeah, we should consider maybe doing some business time. If you're local, it's like, why not?
So that's why you did Delaware.
That's the only reason I did. My first deal in Delaware was a fix and flip. It wasn't a wholesale deal. I bought it, fixed and flipped it.
And how did you find the first deal? What marketing did you use?
It was text messaging.
Got it.
Launch Control. I bought this house. I ended up breaking even on it, and I was a little pissed because it would, cost money and time, and it was basically a free deal. So I was like, is this a good idea to do another market? Like, we're making all this money in New York, and I'm doing deals in San Diego here and there. So then we did the deal with you, actually, that one in the hood, and I made like $3,000. I ended up netting 3 on that. I'm like, it was a lot.
As you start to scale and grow your business in different markets, there's a lot of work that has to be done.
2 or 3 years ago, I was just so burned out from being a one-man show.
Coordinating with title companies for all these different deals, having showings for all these different properties, managing flips, not to mention all the fires that you have to put out on so many deals.
It's just so stressful, and like, I don't really need to do that many deals anymore. Should I just stop this business right now?
All right, we're taking a tour of Greg's apartment here. As apartment/office. Let's take a look at this. Is this your company right here?
Yes. If you want to see where the big dog gets its work done, you'll be surprised. Right in here. Got a relatively decent sized business, and I literally am here all day, sitting on the computer. Like, that's what people don't tell you. Like, I'm in my bedroom on the computer for
8 to 12 hours a day.
And I remember I was like, dude, I might have to retire for a little bit, man. Like, I just don't think I can take this business. Totally burned out. I'm stressed out. I'm working like a maniac here, and I just don't know what to do.
If you're feeling burnt out, like Greg did, I'm giving away my entire system for free. This is the only system that I know that you can scale your business and get more time back in your life.
What are you doing with your day?
I'm working on projects. I'm managing people. I'm doing some seller calls if needed. Doing a lot of marketing work.
I've used the system that I've been running in my own business for 9 years, and I've been able to systemize it to work in any single market across the country.
All of my wholesaling processes, all of my marketing processes, sales, all that stuff, everything is in this program for you.
And if you don't have the time or interest to learn everything yourself, and we can do it for you, I've worked with over 100 investors and spent over $5 million in ad spend to learn the best practices to get you the highest quality leads.
So this campaign net over 6 figures for this investor. And I'm going to show you month by month exactly what it looked like.
Check out the link in the description. No gimmicks whatsoever. Get it now. Back to the interview.
You need to not go all into marketing in the beginning, because if you don't like the market or it doesn't work, you're going to be out a lot of money. You're going to be really pissed. So we tiptoed into Delaware. So we did a little bit of text message marketing, property lien list on PropStream, like nothing crazy. And then we ended up getting a property. It wasn't selling because it was a beat up property. And I told the seller, can we just get a lower price and just buy it cash? I was going to fix and flip it. And I'm like, I wonder if I can wholesale. I didn't really know that area. It was like Kent County, LA. I ended up wholesaling it for $15,000 in 2 hours. And I'm like, holy shit, like you just made $15,000, no bullshit, no like lawyer garbage like in New York. So we started pushing big online marketing there, PPC, your favorite, and like mail. And we started to learn the market there. We validated the market first, did a little bit of deals, got some experience, learned the players. And once we had some pretty good feedback, and now we're scaling. I don't like using that word, but we're like doing a lot more business there. And you gotta understand, if you're wholesaling, who are the buyers? And if you're in Delaware, you go to the REI Facebook group. There's like 2,000 people in there. If you have a deal, you'll sell it in there for free.
That's what I did. What kind of revenue in Delaware are you doing?
I would say on average, we're probably like 30 to 40 grand a month in Delaware right now. Like it's starting to become now where I'm like, well, like we're actually like doing a lot of deals in Delaware.
Do you remember specifically like what was going on that was so stressful for you that made you get to that place?
Yeah, I had too many tasks on my plate, and I had too much chaos with all the transactions because they're so like volatile, like with sellers and buyers. And it was just starting to eat at me. Like there was just too much activity going on and not a lot of clarity in my mind. And it was overwhelming. I had a very overwhelming feeling. Like it was just like every day there was chaos. And, you know, I had one seller we thought we'd make 30 grand out of, then they changed their mind. And then, you know, that 30 grand that I wanted to make like turns into zero. Because you have to understand there's phases in your journey. Starting a business, which is very hard, and trying to make money without having a job is not easy for the average person because they've never done it and they don't have experience. And then you have trying to get momentum, which is, I think, just as hard as starting, because you could have one success, but then if you haven't done any work since then it's going to take you a long time to get the next property. And then once you have momentum, you have challenges.
You know, we have some tenants calling us. There's some water. There was a huge rainstorm back east. There's, you know, we got a guy backed out of a deal. A seller bailed at the last minute when the attorneys had everything lined up. We had some sellers change their mind on deals that we were trying to negotiate. Now we got to pay more.
When you start to get established and you have experience, the most important thing is experience. You don't get too high on the high and you don't get too low on the lows. If you get really stoked when you close big deals, it's bad, because when you have a bad month or a deal doesn't go through, you're going to be devastated. You're going to get way too low on the lows.
The more you get stressed out about something in business, the more it's going to compound, and then you're not going to know how to deal with it, and then you can't solve problems effectively. So, you know, you have to understand after time, you have to become numb to issues in the business. Like we had this lady say she was gonna, you know, come to our office, which is a post office box in New York, and, you know, get a restraining order and sue us and bring the cops there. And I just ignored the call because I know it's complete bullshit. And like, you know, if that was me 4 years ago, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But now I'm like, okay, do it. Like you can't really faze me.
If you let your emotions dictate how you decide to do business, you're not going to be in business, because you're going to let your emotions take you out of business.
The only way to prevent burnout is either to stop growing your business, quit, or start hiring people.
A lot of people have this like fantasy where they're going to be so successful they don't have to work ever again. And I think that's a very noble goal. It sounds great in your head when you haven't achieved it. But when you actually get to that place, I've been there and I'm there right now, you realize that the person you had to become to get into that financial situation is not the person who's willing to sit on the beach for a month. I could stop doing deals now for like 4 or 5 years and like be good to go, especially with the rentals. Dude, I would lose my mind. And I almost did that because of this chaos in my little business where it was a one-man show back then. I was like, let me just shut this down. I don't need to do this. I could not retire and be happy, because if I just got up every day and went to the gym and did nothing, I would feel like very strange, because the last 8 years I had to do the opposite of that to be successful. And I obviously didn't do that, and I decided to continue the business, and I've built a team ever since then, and we've done more business we've done more business now since then.
What does the team look like?
Me, Brett, who buys the houses, Lindsay, who talks to the sellers, and my assistant Anna, who does a lot of the transaction coordination, logistical work. It took me a long time to build a team because I needed to build myself. It took me 5-6 years to do that, because if I were to be some 22-year-old punk trying to hire people, I've tried that and it all failed miserably. So I've had to become an actual leader of others. In order to be a leader of others, you need to be able to really lead yourself. Because how am I supposed to lead other people if I can't lead myself? So it starts with doing what you say you're going to do to yourself, doing what you say you're going to do with other people. And then the second thing I would say about that is leading by example. Like, my team knows I work hard and I set the standard, I set the pace. And they see that, and then they want to match that.
What is the peak of your monthly revenue in New York?
The peak? It's now. Like, our average monthly revenue now is like in between 90 and 140 grand a month. Like, it depends on the month, but that's really where we're at. We're ending the year basically with like 700-ish in revenue that we've closed so far. So I'm assuming we'll do about 1.4 with a very small team.
Crazy.
This guy works harder than anyone else I know. He is so focused, and he is so relentless with getting better every single day.
Would you still do real estate if you didn't make any money from it?
I think a better question would be, and I'm sorry to call you out, is if I had enough money, like where I had $50 million in the bank, would you still do real estate? Because if there was no money in real estate, no one would do it. I always say I'm hungrier now than I was when I started. So yes, if I had 50 million in the bank, which we'll get there eventually, I would still do deals 100%. It's not about the money, it's about the process. And it's about just getting better. If you really want to be able to do what you want to do, you need to have the money to pay for that stuff. And this business is a great way to make money. Someone starting out could legitimately make $200,000 net within the first 2 years if they really, really, really hustle and have a good strategy. But the odds of someone doing that are probably not terribly high, because they have to work on their attitude, which is going to work on their mindset. And then when that gets fixed, then they'll get the skills. And then once they get those skills and they fix their mind, like, that's already a year. So then you're going to have to probably do it in 3 years.
People looking on the outside may say he's lucky, but after getting to know Greg over the last 5 years, his level of success has nothing to do with luck.
Any marketing channel works. Like, Google ads work, mailers, all that stuff works. And when people complain about them, it's like, no, you just didn't make it work. Like, I know Google works. We make money from Google all the time. I know that mailers work. We make money from mailers all the time. So if it works for somebody else, it'll work for you.
He still is striving to be the best person that he possibly can. He's still striving to learn and still trying to get better. No matter where you're on your first deal or your 100th, focus on getting better.